This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
Hello and welcome to episode 39 of Too Old to Game. I'm your fear-filled host, Dave Oster. Today I'm joined by the original man-child himself, Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys? Wait, I gotta redo that. What's up, guys? Gotta get the finger point.
Can't leave out the finger guns,
No,
man.
I can't.
Unfortunately, Mark Weber could not be here today, so we are not dubbing them E's, but we do have a great show for you here. We'll be talking about the Kotaku article by Jason Schreier, basically exposing BioWare for being just terrible people.
A lot of bad things going on.
Just terrible people. And then we'll be kind of predicting the future a little bit, talking about, is GameStop going the way of Blockbuster? A great thought that Ricky had that I kind of want to deep dive into.
Just a random thought I had. Like, I saw the article, I think it was from GameIndustry.biz, was the one I sent you and Mark, and I was like, and I'm just listening to other podcasts talk about it, and I'm like, are they going to become the next Blockbuster to where it's like, oh, remember this? Remember when we used to go into game stores and actually buy our used games? Are we going to get
like a Captain Marvel-esque callback to a
Maybe,
GameStop
yes.
from the 2010s?
No, Funko Land is what we're going to do. What they were before GameStop.
I remember that. What about, there was another one too. Oh man, there's a couple of them that all like got eaten.
EB Games?
Yeah, EB Games.
KB Toys?
KB Toys was separate.
They had, later on, before they like went, they had a little bit of gaming, but that's the toy store that I remember.
Fair enough. But getting into things, Jason Schreier wrote this article. It just came out a couple days ago.
It's a long article.
It is a lengthy article, but it exposes a lot of I don't even know what to put it, because it's like it exposes a lot of the interworkings or behind the scenes at BioWare, and he interviewed multiple devs from there and got their perspectives on things, and it is kind of shocking to read because you hear them talk about, basically they feel like they were set up for failure after what happened with the last Dragon Age game being a success even on its tight timeline and short resources, and then the pressure that was put on them post that was so high to deliver, and the timeline is insane, and the devs who were working on it were just losing their minds, basically under stress. I mean, it's just, where do you want to start with this one?
I think the perfect kind of, while you're kind of describing it, the perfect excerpt that I got from it was, and it says, perhaps the most alarming, it's a story about a studio in crisis. Dozen of developers, many of them decade-long veterans, had left BioWare over the past 2 years. Some who have worked at BioWare's longest-running office in Edmonton talked about depression and anxiety. Many say they and their coworkers had to take stress leave, a doctor-mandated period for weeks or even months worth of vacation for their mental health. One former BioWare dev told me they would frequently find a private room in the office, shut the door, and just cry. People were so angry and sad all the time, they said. Said another, depression and anxiety are an epidemic within BioWare.
It's kind of right in my wheelhouse. I'm sort of an expert on those, if I do say so myself. That's rough.
It's just like...
That's really rough.
And another thing, like I heard today, I was listening to another podcast, and they were saying like how there are some devs that are like, you know what? It was just like, we were kind of bred for this as like an industry. They're like, yeah, we were kind of bred for this coming out of school, where it's like, you know what? Like, having the passion for the game and the love for it is good, but like sometimes that's not going to be it, because you're just going to be deadlines and this and that and making the game like there was in the story, they were like, hey, we had a full game and here's what it is, and then the higher up said, no, we don't like this, and it's like, oh, we got to redo everything. Or like another thing where it's like, hey, we're using this Frostbite engine, this group of people know how to work with that. Then a little bit later, yeah, we got to take them to work on FIFA. Have fun.
Yep.
Have fun working with this engine that you know nothing about. But we're going to force you to use because we're EA.
No, I love it. You start off with, everybody who ever had played a game basically goes, I want to make a game myself. And that's, the people who have a passion for it go further in school. They go to learn how to code, whether it's in school or whether it's boot camps nowadays. And you get that dream. You realize, oh, now I know how to do enough. Now I can do it. And you get signed by a studio. Imagine getting signed by BioWare, someone who would love to make videos in video games. And then you get put in and you realize that, like, oh, this is real life. This is not, anywhere close to what I had hoped for as a job. As this is not very fulfilling as a dream. It's like you said, deadlines, the stress, the working without real management, the indecision that was constantly affecting them and affecting their timelines, and the people around you make it even worse. Then, so I mean, that is just a cruel wake up call for the industry, I think.
Well, it's like, for example, we here at MVP had a meeting not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. That's why we have the Patreon rewards. Yeah. Like, we redid all that.
Yeah, 3 hours for 3 minutes.
We actually had a... Yeah, you're talking about recording, not the meeting. Like, our recording. Just so
our recording was it took us 3 hours to record a 3-minute video because I can't remember things.
That wasn't all we talked about, but, like, we planned stuff for the channel and kind of looked at the future and stuff. In this article, it was said, like, imagine going into a meeting at your job.
Oh, no, I don't have to imagine. I live this, actually.
Talking, having discussions, and then leaving the meeting going, so what's the plan moving forward?
It's that's incredibly common in the corporate world.
It's like, for me, maybe I'm different. Like, I used to work in admissions for a college. If we went into a meeting and left with no direction, it'd be like, well, how are we going to get students? Like, maybe it's because I come from where it's like, okay, I need to leave this meeting with you have
precedence as well. Yeah. Like, you've been doing, like, the school has been doing this for how long? Yeah. So, like, you guys aren't, trailblazing a new path of admissions or anything. But, like, for this,
but, like, even for this, games, like, even Anthem, like, with how long it was in development, it's like, maybe this is why it took so long.
As someone who works in IT and works with software developers and friends with several software developers, it is not horribly shocking. I think the more shocking thing to me is the way that the company reacted and maybe didn't continue to try to build a better environment for their staff. Because I can tell you, people in software engineering, very vocal.
Yeah.
Developers, whether they're game developers, other sorts of developers, front-end, web, doesn't matter. They're usually pretty vocal about their opinions on things. So the fact that they were encountering all of these things and still not getting any help from upper management, drawing a spotlight, putting something forward, BioWare just didn't. They didn't react to it until the article came out. Everybody saw this is a problem. And they're like, we're going to work on getting better, guys.
Well, and that's the funny thing, too, of, like, the thing is with how quickly their response came out. It was like, did you read the article? Because you came out with that response in less time than it would take to read the article.
No, like, there was some time.
No, from what the very first comments that came out were because Jason actually was like, hey, I'm doing this piece. We don't know how much he revealed to them, but was like, hey, I'm doing this, and told them about it. And that first statement was like, there were a few people that were like, well, did they even read the article? Because it sounded like they didn't even read the article that Jason did. And, like, for me, the thing that I think about is, if I'm a company, wouldn't you want the best working? And, of course, I'm not a game developer. I'm not in game design. So maybe it's like, well, Ricky, you're out of the loop here. But I would think any company you would want to make, of course, it's not going to be all, like, lollipops and rainbows.
Certainly
not.
But,
hey, I don't want my workers being depressed and having anxiety when it comes to making a game, because then I would look at that and go, well, then is the game even going to be a good game? Because instead of putting everything good in it, we're kind of feeding negative emotions with it. Like, I'm not saying that fills into it all the way, but like, I wouldn't want a negative atmosphere for MVP, let's say.
I understand. And to counterpoint, but to add on to that, would be to say that our generation probably has the most openly aware of mental health issues and how it affects people.
Like, we're not afraid to say, hey.
We're the most affected by mental health as a generation. Like, not saying past generations didn't have it.
They just weren't vocal about it.
They either weren't vocal, or the perception was that you had to hide that. Like, that was not something you could.
Or it was like, hey, get over it.
Right. You had to hide it because the public perception. So our generation is very in touch with that, and we're very vocal about, like, hey, if we've got problems, like, I'm kind of hung up on that. So I think that recognizing that, and your developers are very much a younger group because you get them right out of school fairly, that way everybody's super passionate. Yes, you probably won't make the best games if they're, dealing with depression and stuff, but like people are still going to kind of trudge through it. But I agree. It's very much like they said that devs taking months off and just disappearing basically off the face of it because I'm giving everything I can. And if I don't feel like I'm getting something rewarding back, then it's there's not going to be the greatest quality of work going in.
And the thing I didn't hit from like what you said is, there might have been the collect few that were saying to upper management, like, this is a problem. I feel bad about this.
Yep.
There were also some that it was like they felt like, hey, you know what? They're do they really listen? And B, how anonymous are these kind of feedback surveys?
Yeah.
Like, how honest do I want to be?
Oh, yeah.
Because can it really be traced back to me, although
100%.
It's anonymous?
Yeah, I mean, like, 100%. If you fill it in, it depends on the service they use. But from my experience, like, anonymous is not always truly anonymous. And that's correct.
Yeah.
So, you might not always want to say it. But, I mean, like, these working conditions sound, like, really unfortunate for... And, like you said, you can't build a successful culture when your employees are dealing with that many problems. Like, just... And, John, if you start with the, like, management indecision will roadblock everything. You can't hit timelines. Your product managers are going to be pissed at you. And because you're like, hey, this will take me 6 weeks of dev work. And they're like, great, week 4, like, just checking in. Are you on track for 6? And you're like, yeah, I'm still in week 2 because this group of people haven't decided how we're going to do X, Y, and Z yet. And like, oh, well, fuck that. Like, we got to, it's the instant push from every angle around you trying to have you deliver. So I think right off the bat, the management indecision's horrible.
Well, or like I mentioned, like how I mentioned with the Frostbite thing, when they had the group of people that are like, we're used to working with this, you could bring something to them. Oh, sure, it'll take me 2 weeks. After they were like, hey, we got to take this group of people to work on FIFA because that brings in a ton of money for
That's
EA.
That's guaranteed,
That 2 weeks took months.
Yep.
Like, it was like, hey, something that would be 2 weeks to do with this Frostbite engine, we don't know how to use that. So it's taking us a month, if not more, to get this simple task done because we have to learn it and then try to do what we want to do.
What we actually want to achieve. Yeah. So, no, I mean, that's just roadblocks left and right. So, the culture there sounds horrid, absolutely horrid. And I'm not surprised to hear this feedback that people were leaving, they're long time out, like tons of people who just couldn't be around it anymore. That it's not shocking, but it's really disappointing to hear that like BioWare hadn't addressed it until they're publicly shamed.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is like, I understand the stories I was hearing about like, oh, Anthem wasn't the name of the actual game because the game that they were calling it in early development, they couldn't get the website or the actual like website name for.
It was Beyond.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't get it because the whole mock-up was, well, Beyond is beyond the doors of the city, of civilization, you're going out exploring. That sets a theme. What's an anthem? No one. Like, yet they basically had to make that up on the spot.
Yeah.
And right there from the get-go, that's sort of disappointing. Like, when you flip the script on that, you're just then rewriting things. Oh, I can't imagine trying.
Because, like, at the core, Anthem had a cool precedence to it, to where it's like, I can fly, I can be like Iron Man. Like, when you first told me about it, I was like, holy shit, like, this game's going to be awesome.
Was dope.
Yeah.
Absolutely was
like,
dope.
Holy shit, this is going to be cool. And then it's like, I'll be honest, I played one mission. One mission.
Well,
and
that
like,
was in beta?
No, I have the game.
Oh, you actually...
I bought it to play
right.
with you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know what?
I told you to return that shit. Mark told you to return that shit.
I know, but I was like, you know what?
Don't waste your money.
First off, I got it as a gift. So it wasn't my money. It was relatives' money.
Okay.
I could have returned it, but I was just like, you know what? Dave's going to play it.
Yep.
I can at least play it with Dave, and like at least like I know that I've got the Division over here, and the Division is my...
The problem is,
the Division
like,
is my main girl.
After you record things... And I'm asleep at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, we don't ever get to play.
Or, like, I played The Division today after I got home from work before the podcast. So, like, from 4 to 5:30.
Yeah, when I'm still at work or on the train.
Yep.
So,
transmuting.
we don't really get to play transmuting.
Well, transportating.
I like
it.
You did say transmuting. I'll go Full Metal Alchemist on that shit.
Well,
hell yeah.
Do we need the circle for it, or you got it on your hands?
I got it in the hands, man. Got that head shit. But yeah, no, I think that's kind of the bummer.
We're gonna have to make time though, September 13th.
Damn right, Borderlands 3. Back to Anthem though.
Yeah.
The game that had no direction, that had horrible treatment of their devs, that had literally a million problems, and we all saw it coming. Like from the outside, we're like, oh man, the alpha hit. This game has the chance to be really fantastic, but it's really bad right now. All right, well, we'll give it a chance. They said that build's a couple weeks behind, so maybe they got better. Let's go to the beta. Well, that one is a little bit better than the early access.
Was the alpha the one where they were like, you're playing on a 6-week-old build?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then the beta was, I think, somewhere in between the updates, basically, but not quite all the way there. So it was rough going from the get-go. And I mean, out the gates, it was just instant harsh criticism. This game shouldn't have been released like this. You guys, put out a poor product. And like, I have a friend who actually knows one of the developers who worked on Anthem. And like, when I told him like up front, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go have lunch with a buddy of mine who actually did this. What do you think of the game? I was like, oh, it's awful. Like, it's a piece of, And I didn't realize, like, I was being incredibly insensitive.
Yeah.
But it was the,
that was before
in my
this
mind,
came
I'm
out.
blaming a dev.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting a product. I didn't stop and think about it. I'm like, they're under deadlines. This is EA. Of course they're going to push out a product that's not completed. Like, it didn't hit me. So my first perception was, devs don't know what they're doing. Like, this is bad. And I still agree to some extent that like the devs had a lot of challenges that definitely stopped them from dropping a successful game. But like, yeah, man, I felt bad about saying that. And plus,
you're kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Because what, are you gonna quit? And then you got to find a job. And every time you go in for an interview, well, why did you quit from BioWare? And let's say this article doesn't come out. Then you have to sit there and go, well, do I make accusations here in an interview? Because that would just look bad. You know what I'm... Now with this article, at least, like, now it could be like, hope, hey, like, what was going on there. Everyone's read this.
Then it's the, like, oh, so you were at BioWare? Were you part of the shit show?
Exactly.
And then they're going to ask you about it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's fine. But
we're like,
still.
Before this, it was like, well, great, I can't bring it up because nobody knows about it.
Right. So I think all in all... Great job by Jason bringing something. 19 developers interviewed. Of course, BioWare refused to be part of the interviews themselves, and their first way of responding internally was to say, "Don't talk to reporters."
Yeah,
it's like, oh, come on, come on. You guys know this is like you're beyond that point.
They've responded. I think they responded recently.
There was a post yesterday on their blog.
Yeah,
it says something along the lines of. We'd like to take a moment to address the article published this morning about BioWare, Anthem's development. First and foremost, we wholeheartedly stand behind every current and former member of our team worked on the game, including leadership, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Well, not surprising to hear them say that, but like, I would be surprised internally
if they did anything.
If they actually did that.
Well, because this is the update. I found it in the article that I was talking about. It was 11:30 on Tuesday. So Jason posted at 11. I think these times are Central since that's where we are. By 11:30, it says, minutes after the publication of this article, EA and BioWare put up a blog post in apparent response. And that is what got people to where it's like, yeah, this article is long enough to where, like, if you read it in depth, it would have taken you longer than just minutes to read it, respond to it, write up what you were going to do. Like, that would take more than just minutes.
As a company,
to come up with.
I'm sure their public relations team scoured it pretty quickly. I'm not saying they were fucking experts on what they do. I'm just saying that,
I'm just saying
they can get the gist of, we're getting blasted right now. We need to put something out.
A little bit longer. That's why people are like, well, did you even read it?
You Band-Aid attempt that. I agree with the in premise. Is like, respond, get something out there, try to save as much face as you can, and then give your full response later.
But like, this is just something to where I look at it and I can't help think that I feel not just bad for the devs, but I feel bad for Anthem, the game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it had an incredible premise. Because
it's like there was so much potential to it.
Yep.
And I feel like we're never going to see that potential.
Well, that's the question. Is this going to go the way of Destiny 2? And Destiny, where they got better as time went on, and
I don't think
by the final product, you were actually pretty happy with the game state? Or is it going to get... I'm trying to think of another game that came out that basically got abandoned. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I know it's happened to several games, and that's probably why I don't remember them.
I totally think this is going to be the latter of that. Yeah. Because the Division is already out and kicking it. And then the longer you take, let's say it doesn't start getting good by September, if you don't get good by July, September you're losing. Like Borderlands 3 comes out, you're going to lose again.
Well, they all lose to Borderlands. It doesn't matter. Even Division's going to lose to Borderlands. Like Borderlands is a fucking
The Division
event.
will taper off. Like I think the Division is going to be one where, like for me, I got to 30. I'm going to do end game stuff. Like end of April here, like around the end game and draft. I'm going to dip out a little bit, play some Days Gone. When I finish Days Gone, I'm going to pop into the Division. Like, it's not something that I totally think I'm just going to abandon. Where Anthem, like I said, I played the first mission, have not stepped back into it because I've had no reason to step back into it.
No, I mean, they've got a small window to work with to try to reclaim that, but I think it's doable. I think that the game has, the core concepts of what makes it fun, and they get so much public feedback from its fans. Like, that is an active subreddit for a game that does not deserve it almost. Like, it is bad, and we all know it, and yet you go to that subreddit,
but
and
there's
it's constant
people that
posts.
love it.
It's constant posts of, can you guys just do this? Can you give us this? Can you do this for us? Can you tweak this? Can you balance this a little bit better? And it's just all this feedback. And it reminds me a lot of a game that I really loved back in the day in League of Legends, where that was a game where it's completely different because BioWare is a huge fucking juggernaut, basically. And Riot, at the time when they came out with League of Legends, circa 2009...
was kind of like Epic when they came out with Fortnite-ish?
Even smaller.
Okay.
This was their first big thing. But the community and the devs were so close that you had that constant back and forth communication. You had that conversation. And that's what helped that game grow so quickly, was the fact that they had like community spotlights. They talked to people weekly on live streams. Like, there was such a level of interaction there that they were able to make the game that had like, this MOBA thing's pretty cool. Like, we like Defense of the Ancients. We're going to do our own spin, but make it cartoony and change it a little bit here.
Because at that time, Dota was still the main MOBA, right?
Yeah, Dota was Defense of the Ancients.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Sorry, I said the whole thing, but yes, it is Dota.
I've never heard of it as... what you just said, I was like, oh, that's something different. And then I said Dota. I was like, oh, I guess
that's where that came from,
Yeah, I guess so. I've just always heard it referred to as Dota or Dota 2. Right,
Dota was the OG. It was it was basically the add-on.
But were there any other like famous ones along with that?
League was spinning up at the same time as Heroes of Newerth, which I came from actually, which was the darker. It was basically like Dota but upgraded. So Heroes of Newerth was fun. Enjoyed that. Went over, started playing League of Legends, then over to...
Did that one have a console build?
It might have at some point.
Because I feel like I heard you say that, and you might have tried to get me to play it.
Perhaps.
You didn't get me to.
Obviously.
League was, but...
League was. You had a great experience with that.
That's a story for a different day.
Yep. But point being, if you're amazing with your fans, and you're listening to them constantly as a game company, like... That's how you get the best product out there over time. Listen to them, take their feedback, and adjust accordingly. And I think that's something that I've seen out of the devs early. Obviously, the whole loot fiasco thing happened where it was like, we fixed the loot on accident, and then when they realized what they actually did, like, oh, we changed back, guys. And we're like, no, change it back again. Like, do what you did again. Like, bring that back because that made the game fun. We're getting rewarded for our time appropriately for what we feel. And like, maybe we can meet you in the middle somewhere down the line. And it was just, they weren't quite there, but a lot of the stuff they have gotten better. They're dropping big patches.
And that's why I wonder if the people that are already dropped out, you're not getting them back in my mind. You can.
It's a hard fight.
You can try.
I wasted my $60 already. I'm gonna check back in a month or two.
I may, but the only time I'm gonna check in is if like I'm in a period of like. I'll tell you right now, it's probably going to be at the end of the year when it's like the Christmas time of like, I've got 2 weeks off. There's nothing like people go, well, we had the Christmas rush. We're not coming out with anything else because
we'll see.
You know, we're just going to wait until Q1 because the end of the year in the gaming universe is like, well, we're all going to go on vacation, put everything on hold. We'll see you Q1, everybody.
Yeah. If you don't get your sales in before Christmas, then there's no point in releasing at that point sometimes. I don't know. We'll see, though. I think they've got time.
Because you were spot on with Borderlands when we talked about it last week. Like, when I heard September 17th, I was like, Dave was right. Q3?
Yeah, I know.
Q3?
I'm a bit of a fan to the point where
I'm a bit of a fanatic.
The $250 special Ultra Super Edition one that comes with stuff, I'm maybe buying that. One.
So I've got an off-topic question, kind of a surprise one that I just thought of that I forgot to tell you about.
Sure thing.
So there are rumors and theories that we may know what will be the next theme of the next Assassin's Creed game.
Really?
Yeah. So somebody, I can't remember who it was. I was listening to one of my podcasts today, and there's another YouTube channel that was playing The Division, Ubisoft game, same company that makes Assassin's Creed. And in one of the buildings, there's a like kind of like Viking thing. And if you punch it, it shows an apple, kind of like the same apples that we saw in God of War this time around. And many people are thinking that, holy crap, the next Assassin's Creed, we're going to the age of the Vikings. And we're going to be like Valhalla and Thor and Loki and Odin. And we're going to be going to that time period with Assassin's Creed. We went to Egypt, then we went to Greece.
Yep.
Now we're going to be going to Norse mythology, people think, with the next one.
That'd be pretty cool.
Next year.
They got a lot of material to work with there. I would really like that.
I was like, hey, people are on the God of War train with it.
Yep.
Why not try to cash in with that?
I mean, you know, Vikings had their thing. What was the other? There's like 3 Viking shows basically.
There was Vikings.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Were there other? I just knew Vikings.
There's like 3 of them. There's 3 of them out there.
Okay.
They're all basically.
This is where they come in. They help us out.
You guys will have to tell us about that one. I've seen at least 3 different shows. I can't recall names, but that's just what we do here.
Oh, Dave and names.
Dave doesn't do names.
Dave don't tweet. Dave don't name.
That's so damn true. But let's shift into a more positive theme here, Ricky.
Is it positive?
Is it positive?
I don't think so. Like, talking about a company maybe going out of business eventually is not positive.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Talking about the GameStop one, right?
I mean, I think it's positive.
Okay, well, go ahead.
My spin on
Prep
it
it
is,
up.
yeah. So there's a reason Blockbuster went out of business. The idea of a physical location to watch, to go get, retrieve, purchase, and return movies is a hassle.
Yeah.
Same with video games. So to go to a GameStop where everything's already shady, it's run by a bunch of kids, basically age 16 to 35, who just don't want to be there. Some of the funniest stories are from these kids.
The fact that you called it shady just makes me laugh.
Are you kidding
already
me?
Shady. I will be honest. I walk into a GameStop and I just feel like I want to get out of here as quick as possible.
And then smother myself in hand sanitizer. But look, like it's a stereotype for a reason.
Yeah.
But no, like I've known great people who worked at GameStop. It's just in general, the business practices practiced by them are not fantastic. The returns, the trade-in policies, all of that stuff, not amazing. Point being, it's inconvenient. And if we're going, we've talked about this, if we're going to a day and age where we can stream video games off of anything, if we can download all of our content.
Stadia,
the
Stadia,
Stadia,
likes to call it.
The Stadia.
Not the Stadia, it's the Stadia.
It's the Stadia. And if we can stream our games, if we can download them all digitally.
Xbox Game Pass,
our shit, like, that's the future. And that's what I said. It's a positive story for me. We're getting to the point where this is actually a reasonable thought. Because bummer for people who work at GameStop. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want people to lose their jobs, but I think it's cool that we're around for the time where Blockbuster's gone out of business. 99.999%.
Except for like one in Oregon.
One. Correct. There's one. And then I think GameStop won't be too far behind because I think within the next 5 years, we're going to be at that point with game consoles where it's not a necessity anymore.
And I've heard numerous things, and the thing that I like, why I brought this up is the GameIndustry.biz article that talks about how GameStop posted a $637 million full year loss for 2018. The not so bad about it, it's the they've only had 2-year losses since they changed from Funko Land to GameStop.
Yep.
So I mean, I guess that's good, but like for me, the way I look at it is look at everything with GameStop is first off, one of the big things for their sales is selling hardware. Right now, we have no new hardware to sell.
Haven't had in a long time.
And it's like, we're not going to get
Except
that
for
until maybe next year, 2 years.
Switch.
The Switch. But like, no new PlayStation, no new Xbox.
Correct.
In the past few years. Number 2.
Except for the special edition ones that drop with game combos.
Exactly.
As you had purchased the Spider-Man one, there was one for Kingdom Hearts.
Where did I pre-order mine? I've got no shame at all. I pre-ordered through Best Buy.
Yep.
Like, I didn't even go through GameStop.
That's the thing is, like, you got Best Buy, you got Target, you got Kmart, all that
Amazon
shit.
too.
Amazon has been amazing for games.
And
eBay.
I mean, yes, there are people that are like, well, you know, the thing I like about a store like GameStop is that I can go in and buy it and actually get it and bring it home rather than ordering the physical copy online and having to deal with. Because, like, the one complaint I heard was like, yeah, I ordered a PlayStation once through Amazon and I had a bad experience with that. I'd rather go into a store, buy my hardware, and bring it home. Or the like situation that Mark had with Red Dead. Yeah, I pre-ordered it, and I didn't get it until like 8 o'clock the night it released while all my friends were already playing it. But like I look at GameStop, and first off is hardware. Yes, we haven't had any of that. Number 2, used games. You just mentioned it, like Game Pass, all of these like services and streaming.
GameFly.
Exactly. It's like
you can rent from those.
There are so many places to get old games. Like I use Game Pass as the example because I can pay $10 to not just get one old game, I can get a ton of old games. So it's like that's another thing where it's like, all right, people aren't buying used games like they used to.
And that's where the profit margin comes in. They really do get a lot off of used games.
And the third thing is they've kind of pivoted. They've planted their pivot foot and said, hey, we're going to go with more collectibles. Like, if you walk into a GameStop now, it's vastly different than when we were a kid. Where when we were a kid, it was like all these games and like strategy guides and everything. And now it's like, oh, there's games on the wall, but there's like Funko Pops and like all these collectibles. And it's like, I feel like GameStop eventually is going to be hot topic with games where it's like, hey, here's collectibles. Hey, we started selling clothes and gaming-oriented shirts.
Oh, I could see that,
Oh, and then there's games here, too. To where eventually I just feel like it's just going to be like, I listened to Greg Miller on Kind of Funny. He brought up a great point. He said eventually in the near future, we're going to see GameStops going, well, hey, we got to cut some overhead. Let's close some stores. Because like he mentioned how...
That's how you get rid of the negative right off the bat. Is whatever's not super profitable.
Back in the day, he's like, you could walk into a GameStop, look out the door, look across the street and go, oh, hey, there's another GameStop. Like that's how... They were like cockroaches. They
really were. They were the Walmarts of the past. The CVS. I mean, Starbucks, all those things. All those chains exploded so quickly in the early 2000s. GameStop was definitely one of them. They were leading the cause. But... yeah, I think they're gonna have to pivot. I think you're right. Like going down the route of selling a wider variety of items because just games is not going to get done in the future. Because I truly believe that 5 years from now, it's not going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, no, and that's why I had the thought of like, are they going to be the next Blockbuster? Because like to me, I had the not just the cutting stores thing. I do think in not just like a couple years, like 3 years. I think eventually. GameStop is just going to be, well, we're not making any money. We have to close our doors, like everything. And it's because I do think, I know that we've had the conversation about the all digital future.
Absolutely.
I think it's coming. It is like, we are one day, Dave, in our lifetime, unless we die before we get to like our 90s, which would be very sad, crossing our fingers that don't happen. Would love to get to the centennial mark. That would be a really big goal. But we're going to eventually in our lifetime get to a point where everything video games is digital.
Oh, hell
no physical copies at all.
Yep.
And to me, it's like that in itself. I know there's some people that are worried, like the people that like to collect them and like put their games
we've
on a
talked
shelf.
about it in the past with collectibles,
And
same
also
with
just
vinyls
like
and
the
cassette tapes,
kind
all
of
that shit.
history of it, where recently there was a game, I never got into it, but it's called Drive Club.
Yeah.
Where basically, all right, we're shutting it down. If you still have the game, you can play it on your console, but we're shutting down all the servers. Well, if it's a digital game and you shut it down, basically you can erase history. And people are like, well, how do we keep that history?
I've got
where it's
games
like, I have
that
this
on
game.
Steam where they just servers are turned off on this date.
Yep.
Been great. Thank you for your commitment to our game. We appreciate you loving the game.
Does it ever happen to WoW eventually? Does WoW ever shut its servers off?
So here's the thing.
In our
official
lifetime.
WoW can, but all those private servers, not a fucking chance. That's the great thing about WoW, because you've got the private sector of people who have their own set of servers, who are playing with people around the world, thousands of people on these servers already. WoW's never dying. Never dying.
All right.
Dude.
That was just one where, like,
Never gonna
and that's
die.
the thing where I don't think that one's ever going to die, but like,
Nope.
GameStop can be, like, that's the thing I like in this conversation where we can start at GameStop.
Yep.
There's several different things. It's like, when eventually will this
Well,
stop?
the thing is what made GameStop unique, I think, in the past was its ability to have the used game market.
Yeah.
And because that's something that Target,
Buying
Best
and
Buy,
trading games, too.
Target, Best Buy, these kind of places don't want to deal in used games. That's not going to get them their money. It's a waste of their time, waste of their space.
Yeah.
So that is the niche that GameStop holds. But with eBay available, with all the digital downloads for past games, like you said, whether it's the Play Store or whether it is Xbox Game Pass, I don't know, it's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
Everything old is being shined up and given new life again. So I don't know, where they're.
And usually the new digital ones are like, hey, we kind of spruced up the graphics a little bit so it looks better than if I walked into a GameStop and bought the game from when it was
Borderlands
originally
remastered.
Exactly.
Just dropped 2 days ago. Guess what? I would probably play that over my old copy of Borderlands 1,
Yeah.
but they're doing the nice thing, be like, you got it on Steam, you get the free upgrade.
Yeah.
So dope on you guys. I'm just Borderlands. If I can bring a conversation back to Borderlands, it's gonna be back to Borderlands.
Well, the thing I'll bring up about that I
Sure.
didn't ask you about is how did you hear it's not going to Borderlands 3 is not going to be on Steam?
Yeah.
It's going to be on the Epic Game Store.
Yeah, it's a dick move. It's a dick
Dave's
move.
like, I got to buy Epic if I want to play it on my computer.
Well, that's the thing. Like I've got 3 copies of Borderlands. I've got 3 copies of Borderlands 2. I've got 2 copies of the pre-sequel.
So you just love giving you're giving
Gearbox
Gearbox
gets
your
my
money.
So I'm still gonna get there, but I'm probably gonna go on PS4 first. To play with you.
Yeah.
And hopefully
Because it's only
some
a
other people.
6-month period, and then it probably will go to Steam after that.
Yeah, so I think I can wait my time out. I hate the exclusive shit, and Epic's like, nope, we're gonna keep doing exclusives. I'm like, well, fuck you guys.
Well, it's
I
all
understand
because
from
of
a
the
business
rev share.
practice.
It's the rev share. Like Gearbox gets more money for being on.
I understand.
Epic.
I'm just frustrated because they don't have the reputation for having a great turnaround with any issues with games, any customer service response. Like they're not as built up as Steam is. Steam's had a decade to get where they are now, and they're a polished product. Whether you hate them for their percentages or not, you can't argue with the product itself.
And that's why we're Epic. I've heard these conversations too of like, eventually it'll get there. Like when you ask people,
you
like,
can't
what
make
do you
a
think?
killer
They're
overnight.
like, well, it's going to be really good. It's got some problems right now. One of the ones that's so simple that I heard was, I guess you can't alphabetize the games. Like you can't click the thing and have them sort alphabetically, which you would think is like, oh, I'm going to have a sort. Yeah, sure. Let them sort them by alphabet.
They'll get there. You can't walk in and day one just take out the biggest bully in the schoolyard, you know?
But I do agree with Gary Whitta when he said that it's funny how like Steam and Epic, it's kind of like they're going through their own version of console wars when it was PlayStation, Xbox.
Yeah,
well, we might see the beginning of that. Well, eventually it might get there. Like this might be the beginning of like we had one around for a while, and then the upstart, and it was like, ooh, okay, now some competition.
Or Steam will just change their percentages and solve that problem.
They haven't yet.
They haven't had a need to yet. Who's Epic brought to the table?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it could happen to where eventually they might have to change them.
They're not losing out on enough money to give a shit yet. They're going to wait and see, like, Epic, do your thing. You know, we'll make our offers out there. Everybody knows who we are and what we do. If you guys pull enough money away from us where we feel like we can carve a little bit extra percentage off here, then they'll do it. But I don't see them knee-jerking anything.
Steam is PlayStation.
Yeah.
Epic is Microsoft.
Yeah.
Where Microsoft is, we want cross-play and games everywhere and this.
Oh, don't give me that load of shit. Sony was there last generation, and Microsoft refused to do it. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, now Sony's on top, and they're like, oh, you know, we don't need the cross-play
but
thing.
there was
We've
nothing
got
before Steam.
our exclusives.
They're like...
No,
the
but
time
I'm saying,
before
like,
Steam.
These two now, it's kind of like where Steam can sit there and go, you know what? We're fine. Kind of like how PlayStation's right now. Like, hey, we're fine because they're on top. Whereas the little guy, and I'm calling Microsoft the little guy only because they're not on top, can be more like with the Xbox, where we want to play games everywhere. Well, you're only saying that because you're not on top. If you were where PlayStation was, you'd be saying, hey, fuck you, buddy. We're keeping them all here.
Literally did just before then. Yep. So, no, I don't know that we'll quite see that level of rivalry because it is just a storefront. Let's be honest. At the end of the day, it's a storefront. It's a launcher. I don't know. We'll see.
Will it go back, though, to the epic days of Sega versus Super Nintendo?
God, no.
The 16-bit wars, Dave.
Oh, buddy, you got to upgrade your game. You get the 32X. Get those 32 graphics. That's where I was at. Get some Virtual Warrior 1 on that shit.
Oh, man. I still remember the yellow bar where I never had the 32X. So it's like, well, can't get that game. Well, can't get that game. Yeah, well, I hope Dave's going to get that
I think there was only... It was under 40 games released for it. It was a fairly small collection, but super worth it for hilariously bad graphics. But they were so good at the time.
Because I remember the one I had like that was the Sonic and Knuckles game, where you put the Sonic and Knuckles in. And that's like, hey, I can flip this and put Sonic 2 on top of it.
It was cool. It was a cool feature. We need some more like gimmicky shit like that.
Stacking them up.
Oh my god, yeah. And then you got the Game Shark under it all.
Yes, exactly.
You got to pop the Game Shark in
first.
Game on top. Second game on top of that.
Because you got to get those cheat codes in there.
Absolutely. I miss the old days. Reminiscing about old video games. That's what we do here. That's why you guys watch us. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Too Old to Game.
Did you buy many used games back in the day? Were you a used games guy?
I bought a couple.
Because I know Mark was. Mark's like a huge
Yeah.
Mark tried to get me originally on the, I'm going to call it a scam, but it's beating the system.
Sure.
Of like, you buy the game, you beat it before like the trial thing runs out, and then you return it.
Yeah, it's GameStop.
It's like...
Yeah, and you could do that literally, in the old days, you could do that forever. Now there's some accountability depending on the store manager or employees. But yeah, no, it totally was a legit gimmick. 100% with it. No, I bought used games in the Sega and N64 days. I think PlayStation 1, I think the majority, probably 80% of my stuff was new.
Because you're talking the Sega days and N64 days.
Yep.
Go into Blockbuster, you get your 2 games, you get them for the week, and then you go back, you get 2 more. Or you say, I haven't beat this one yet. Can I take this one out again?
It's the like, all right, I want to return it, but then take it out again. They're like, all right. Good to go, as long as no one's on that waiting list. Yeah. Remember the waiting list?
Well, for the big games, yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. If you guys love this stuff, I would love to do an episode on like our gaming history coming up. Just pure nostalgia episode.
Well, I was thinking because we have the Star Wars one. Yeah. We got to do 2.
We're going to create a Star Wars game.
I say we save that for December. So around when the movie comes out.
Ooh. That'd be dope.
That gives us some time to like plan out what our Star Wars game would be.
I like it.
And then we can do that around when the movie pops.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us this episode of Tool to Game. I've been your fear-filled host, Dave Oster.
I like how you went into like a calmer, like, thank you for joining the Jazz Lounge here. Absolutely. This is Dave Oster playing that cool jazz for
I'm here to send you off on a good note. That's been Ricky Widmer. He's a man-child. If you guys enjoyed this, check out our patreon.com. We just reworked everything about it. Made it better.
Dave and I recorded a 3-minute video in 3 hours.
It was brutal. I hope you guys enjoy every moment of it.
I hope they have a new day, everybody. Dave, they need a new day.
I will choke a bitch.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
And on that note, catch you next time, everybody.